Hola, mi gente, seguimos con la misma conversación. ¿Quién nos está representando? ¿Quién quiere representarnos al nivel local, al nivel estatal y al nivel federal? Y aquí hay otro valiente, another brave one. Patrick Biggins, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to interview you. I know you're running for the first time
Yes.
as state rep. Tell us about that. When did that happen?
It's a wild ride. I was nominated at our convention here in this room, but in August, and it was like late for our convention. They'd already done the convention for Jeff Curry, and then he decided to step down, and I was nominated, and since then it's been just nonstop since then.
So you are running, I mean, you are interested in education, which I think is a right
Yes.
that our children have, and anybody who wants to get educated, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that means for
Yeah.
someone, right?
Adult education.
Adult education, yeah. For those of us who come from a different country and want to learn the language and so on and so forth. Now, tell us why education.
So for me, I got into education as a young person. I grew up, went to college, and was like, what am I going to do after college? I was interested in working with people, and I got into social rehab, so working with people with disabilities, working with maybe in the juvenile justice
So people like
system.
me. Yes, yes.
But the goal being like just helping people. And then through that, through my bachelor's program, one of the things they kept saying was there's a burnout rate in this field because you take on all these emotions and helping people with their struggles, and it's a very emotional burnout.
It's very true.
So I was very scared of, I don't want to get into a career, get 3 years in and be like, I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
So I was like, you know what, who can do it is educators. Like they get into the field, they're able to do it for their entire career. I mean, there's also a lot of burnout in education too.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
it's a lesser degree than the social services field. So I was like, you know what, let's look at education. I did an internship in school counseling. I was like, kids are people too, so this works for me.
And this is a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
Kids are people too.
So
So education tugs at your heart. What else tugs at your heart?
I think essentially just people. I love people. I love getting to know people. I love hearing their story, hearing what they need from their community, what they might need from their government that could make their lives easier, and then trying to help governments gain like economic development. In East Hartford and Manchester, we need to drive that economic development to make it so like the burden isn't on everybody to sustain the funds in order for the government to run, because as you pay the taxes every year, it does not feel good.
Tell us a little bit about, we were talking earlier before you had to do your run,
Yes.
which, everybody has to, especially now that we're trying to protect our democracy. Okay, by voting, by going out there and really talking about what it means, especially this election, because we fell asleep one time and we ended up waking up to Trump. So we can't do that again. Tell us a little bit about why do you want to enter into the state rep? You've never done it before, which I find super exciting. So you're not a politician by career.
Yeah.
So this is absolutely new. You're going to go into the job. I like this idea, though. You're going to go into the job with your own thoughts, your own ideas, and then you're going to find yourself with the protocols and what people believe. But it sounds like you're someone who can take on a challenge.
I hope so.
So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, because you're going into something you've never done before.
I've never done it. I'm looking at trying to learn. I'm going to learn. I'm going to go. I have a great opportunity in East Hartford and Manchester. We have Jason Rojas, who's the majority leader, who's a very big, person we can lean on.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful to be able to be like, hey, Jason, what's going on here?
Right.
And just that's my hope is that I'm able to learn from Jason, able to learn from the other great representatives that we have, as well as our senators who are great at representing our community. So I don't have all the answers. I don't have any.
Thank God.
Yeah. I don't know how to fix all of our problems, but I'm hoping that I've never been in this position. I'm hoping I'm able to learn as I go. And I think I can do that. I think I can listen to people and hear what they are concerned about.
Now you were a father.
Yes.
Of three.
Of three little girls.
Of 3 little girls.
Yeah.
We are right now concerned about stay out of our bedrooms, leave us alone, let us make our own decisions.
Yeah.
As a dad, How does that make you feel when you know that there isn't, people out there, the Trump movement, if you will, out there saying, we can do whatever we want with you, basically.
Yeah.
We can take all of your rights away, which we saw Roe versus Wade overturned. I never thought I would see that in my life. Don't want it for my granddaughters, don't want it for us as women.
Yeah.
You're the father of three.
I'm the father of three, so I think this is a concern. I mean, in Connecticut, we are blessed with our kind of bubble that we live in. It's like a protected bubble, which is great. But I think that for people, anyone trying to take away anyone's rights, I, as a grown cisgendered man, I don't think I should be the loudest voice on this issue, because I think that there are powerful women that are able to speak. I will vote along those lines, but I don't think it's my place to be the loudest voice in the room. If I'm the only voice in the room, I will be.
That's a good distinction.
Yeah,
If I'm the only voice in the room, then I will be, because we need that.
Reason is necessary.
Yes, absolutely. So what are some of the things that you're watching right now? Because I'm sure you have a little list that you're putting together, if not a big list, that you're putting together. What is one of the first things that you would like to talk about once you have won your election?
Yeah, I think education is the number one thing for me. I think that hoping, fingers crossed, to be on the education committee, hoping to be able to see how, when we're writing laws, how that will affect students, how that will affect teachers, how that will affect school districts. And I think coming from the Board of Ed, as an educator, I'll be able to see that progression and see the reality of how the law will affect the real people, and how we can maybe make some change that will help educators stay in the field, help them be able to make a bigger difference in students' lives, and those things. I think that other things that I'm passionate about are protecting women's rights, of course. The housing crisis in Connecticut, we don't have enough affordable housing. Connecticut, I think we have housing. We just have a lot of expensive housing, and it's really difficult.
I was just going to go there.
Be able to afford
right.
that, and how do we get people to build that generational wealth, build that even just wealth, because then you're paying into your own house that you own, is a way to build wealth for people. And if they're paying into an apartment, they're not building that wealth. So how do we get people to be able to move from one section to another, especially when apartment prices are so high? I can't afford to save from my ability to put a down payment on a house. And then down payments on houses are so expensive because you need 3% if you get an FHA loan, but if you get, it's just a lot of different ways that people are undercut in the process. So how do we take some of those barriers out of the way to make it so everyone has an opportunity?
Now, you are in education, working with kids already every day. It looks to me like you have the right personality to close that door like a guidance counselor and go, hey. And we are ready to find that I'm not the right person to give any advice, right? However, what are some of the things that you think we could do better with our children? Because listening seems to be a problem we have.
Yeah.
Listening to those voices. What do you think we can do better?
I think with the young people, I think that it's about creating that structure. For every kid needs structure, and they thrive in an education environment that has a structure. I think that making sure we're allowing teachers to do their job of building those relationships with kids, but also setting the structure, setting that boundaries of this is what is allowed, this is what's not allowed in my classroom, and then holding kids to that standard, because they will rise to those standards, and helping them to rise to those standards. Then every kid has that opportunity to learn in a safe environment, and that's really what we need. We need to remove a lot of the opportunity gap that we have, because kids from lower socioeconomic households are not going to have the same opportunities that kids from higher socioeconomic households. Just in taking their kids to, let's go see our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. That is a financial commitment that a lot of families do not have the opportunity to do, but our kids should have the opportunity to do. And if we can provide that through school, then that's an opportunity that we have to give those kids an experience that then, when they're writing their SATs, when they're going through the CMTs, then they can do those things.
Unfortunately, I know that.
It's not even CMTs anymore. I think it's something, I forget what the acronym is now. But it's the state testing. Those are experiences that kids can then write about and have had those experiences and speak to their own truth. Whereas, if they've not experienced the world outside of their little small community, then it's hard for them to see the bigger picture, to reach for something that they don't see every day. You know, when we need to diversify, there's so many things in education.
Love it, love it, love it.
Diversify your education staff, diversify all these things to make sure kids see adults like them
Yeah.
as the staff so that they can have that experience too.
Now, you're working in the school system, and I'm going to ask you a very delicate question, okay? The tension, because right now kids, I've had to have this conversation with my granddaughter who's 17. We have another granddaughter who's 4, which means that we have children. Although we can adopt some, right? Are kids really concerned about the safety in their schools? Are you guys having a lot of conversations that you thought, oh, I can't believe you're a parent also? Like, what's the code?
Our schools are safe. Our schools, I think that every school I've ever been in has taken a lot of measures to make sure our schools are safe. I think that the struggle is like, you never know what's going to happen. You can't predict the future. And I think that's the concern. I think that our students do a great job of showing up every day and trying their best. And when I say school safety, I'm speaking mostly on like kids feeling safe enough to try
Right.
In the classroom, because I think that that's where it's paramount, is like if I don't feel comfortable failing in front of my peers, then I can't really try my best because I'm afraid to fail. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And failure is where we get that learning opportunity and where teachers are really able to teach. So like that's where I'm talking about, but then there's the other part of school safety, and that is a big concern also. And how do we address school safety without addressing the greater elephant in the room of gun safety? And and that's a bigger topic that is like a bigger concern, but also like, here's the truth. I'm not educated on guns. I have a brother who's in the military, who I was talking with you about earlier, who is very trained in firearms. And him having a firearm, I don't feel unsafe by that because he has a lot of training.
Right.
I don't have any training, so if I had a firearm, I think we should all be nervous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trained.
Ditto.
So there's a level of like, okay, so how are we preparing people to have that right and to be able to do that in a safe way, especially when there are kids around, when there are kids in the home. So making sure we keep everyone safe.
We have to talk some more.
All right.
I hope that we're going to celebrate. But I ask everybody, when we have seconds, everybody, you have the magic wand. You can only have one wish, and now you're in the politician's seat. What are you wishing for?
Oh, man. I'm wishing that every kid, we can solve child hunger. If I can, one thing, childhood hunger. Like if we can just remove that barrier to education, or that barrier for any child, that would be the best.
This works for me. Congratulations already. Let's bet on that.
All right,
Yes?
all right.
And we'll see you very soon. Ustedes, muy alerta. Estos son los políticos que los van a representar ustedes.